300 views. For many in the YouTube landscape, this is just peasant numbers, but for a channel of my size, it's cause for celebration. This is my Christmas present to all of you, those that gave me a chance to bring these facts and theories to you all. Welcome to the Monster Hunter Iceberg Reforged. The New World. This entry talks about the existence of the New World, a new continent that was eventually colonized and explored by the Commission in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. Size charts. Size charts are, as the name implies, size charts of all the monsters in the game compared to one another. Each of these are huge and expansive, as it even shows the bigger monsters such as Lao Shen Lung, the Empress's Throne, and Nekarkos all together in one image. Handheld Purgatory. This entry refers to how, for the longest time, Monster Hunter was exclusive to handheld devices such as the PSP and 3DS. This was finally broken with the release of World. Prototype Ancient Forest. Prototype Ancient Forest refers to the ancient forest we see in the prototype demo for World. It is significantly different, as it appears to be much more of a swamp and marshland instead of the solid forest we get in the final game. The Huntsman. The Huntsman is a supporting character in Monster Hunter World, where he is portrayed as a veteran hunter in every sense of the word, not even using the new slinger equipment made for New World hunters. What most might not know, however, is that the Huntsman could be a reoccurring character from a past Monster Hunter game. In Monster Hunter Freedom Unite's intro cutscene, we see a hunter using some Rathian gear to get started in the new world of hunting. And while it could be just any other hunter, it's interesting to note that the design of the armor is the exact same in both games, and Freedom Unite is one of the older games in the series. It's hard to not think about it. New World Lagiacrus. In the prototype demo footage from Monster Hunter World, we see a familiar face in the form of Lagiacrus, the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Tri. Its appearance in the test footage proved that Leviathans were at one point going to be in the game, but due to how the skeleton looked unnatural in various terrains of the game, it was removed for not being the quality that the devs wanted. Joke weapons. Joke weapons are a quirky part of Monster Hunter's humor, where you can use a giant fork and knife as dual blades, an entire shark as a lance, and a pizza axe as a charge blade. Nergigante's role. In Monster Hunter World, we're introduced to Nergigante, the extinction dragon and eater of elder dragons. Its role in the game was meant to be a big bad that the Commission wanted out of the way, but it was later revealed in Iceborne that Nergigante is nature's balancing mechanism, going out and hunting extremely powerful monsters such as elder dragons and even tempered monsters to keep the balance in check. Despite this, however, it's still seen as a huge threat to the ecosystem itself and is still hunted by hunters for that very reason. Shara Ishvalda looks at the player. Shara Ishvalda is the final boss of Vanilla Iceborne and made quite an impression with its amazing fight, design, and one other unnerving detail. When you down Shara to its last threshold of health, its eyes finally open, showing a haunting display as its eyes don't follow the player's character but instead the player camera. This creepy detail alongside the amazing fight has made sure that Shara Ishvalda will be remembered as one of the most memorable final bosses in Monster Hunter history. Tale of the Five. A creation myth that was introduced in Monster Hunter World, which detailed how the New World was created by 5 dragons, each creating an element of the New World such as the water, mountains, earth, forests, and finally the Sapphire Star. Rajang preyed on Kirin. This theory was a long-running one within the Monster Hunter community, in which the mighty Rajang preyed on Kirin, making it the only non-elder dragon to prey on an elder. This was further supported in Monster Hunter Online, where there was a cutscene in which both monsters fight, only for Rajang to come out on top. Then it was finally shown to be true once Monster Hunter Iceborne's first major title update came out, where it showed Rajang not eating the Kirin per se, but its horn, which gives Rajang its powerful thunder capabilities. Alatreon-Safajiva connection. In Monster Hunter World Iceborne, we encounter 2 monsters in the form of Safajiva and Alatreon, which appear to have a connection in some manner. Although it is unknown what exactly this connection is, we do know that both monsters are in the Secluded Valley for a reason. With Safajiva, it's for the energy, as the Secluded Valley is rich with bioenergy from the Guiding Lands. But for Alatreons, it seemed to have been chased here by something even it fears. With the release of Rise's demo, Monster Hunter has re-emerged in the spotlight as of late, and as such, I want to celebrate. How so? By making more Iceberg videos. What? No, I'm totally not milking this idea. Not at all. But in all honesty, I wanted to take a stab at explaining an iceberg made by another person, as the one in the first video was actually made by me. This will be the first part of a trilogy of videos related to the original Monster Hunter Iceberg video, where I look at the other two Monster Hunter Icebergs created out there and delve into the lore of a certain black dragon. But we'll get there when we get there. In this first part, I will be looking into this iceberg here, made by Reddit user MonsterHunterGal12. Thank you for making this iceberg image. But first, I need to make some corrections about the first iceberg video. Skip to this time if you want to get to the meat of the video. Rajang preyed on Kirin. I made the claim that this entry is a theory when it was instead meant to be lore, as Rajang was always known to prey on Kirin. It was just a really poor choice of words on my part. Hyperstate. Well, once again, I used the wrong words here, as the hypervirus has the possibility of not being a virus at all, but a randomly occurring state in monsters. So, the theories about the hypervirus being a mutation of the frenzy virus or whatever, there I go again, I actually messed up again. It's supposed to be a state instead of a virus, so my bad. Deviants are caused by hunter encounters. In this entry I said that Deadeye Garuga is caused by hunter encounters alongside Bloodbath Diablos, when instead Deadeye Garuga is actually a naturally occurring deviant as well as the others, with it being the runt of the litter and gaining its dead eye from countless battles with monsters and hunters alike. Ancient Serpent. I claimed that it was the ancestor of all Paishin Wyverns, when in fact that title goes to the Paishin Wyvern, I don't know how to say this, Garu Toto, I think that's how you say that. Original Fatalis had 1 million health. In that video I made the mistake of saying 7 instead of 1. Yeah, I know I tried to fix the post-edit in that video, but it still hurts the ever-loving hell out of me. Alright, if you've watched other iceberg images, this system will be new to you, but I will use this sharpness icon to indicate how confident I am in what I'm saying about an entry, with purple sharpness being where I have complete confidence in what I'm saying, and red sharpness being that I'm just taking a shot into the dark. So, with that out of the way, let's get ready to take another dive into the second Monster Hunter Iceberg. The New World. This entry talks about the existence of the New World, the setting of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, where the Commission is sent to learn about the fabled Elder Crossing and how it affects the New World's ecosystem with all the Elder Dragons crossing over. Size charts. Size charts, as the name implies, are size charts that show how big every monster is next to each other. There is one for every generation, and is even one for Frontier. Joke weapons. This entry refers to the humorous side of Monster Hunter, where there are amazing and awesome looking weapons to use, but there's a smaller amount of joke weapons that can also be used to give players many laughs. Such examples are an entire damn shark as a lance, a pizza as a charge blade, and a teddy bear as a hammer. Handheld Purgatory. This entry refers to how, for the longest time, Monster Hunter has been bound to handheld systems almost exclusively. This cycle is still somewhat in effect to this day, with Rise being an exclusive to Nintendo Switch. Generations. This entry could have a double meaning, so I'll dive into both. Generation refers to the fact that Monster Hunter currently has 5 generations under its belt, each introducing something new to the table, along with a whole new cast of monsters and characters to meet in your travels. Then there's Monster Hunter Generations and Generations Ultimate, which is a celebration of all the classic style Monster Hunter games from the 1st to the 4th generation, where it gives classic Monster Hunter a final hurrah before moving into 5th generation, which revamped the whole series. The Huntsman. The Huntsman is a supporting character found in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, where he is shown to be a veteran hunter all the way, never using the slinger or clutch claw until you show how practical they can be in the endgame. But there's a theory floating around that the Huntsman isn't a new character, but is actually from a previous game in the series. In Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, we see a hunter take his first steps into the Great Forest, donning a very similar set of Rathian gear. This theory implies that this hunter we see in the opening cinematic is the Huntsman. All these years later, old and wise from the days of Freedom Unite, still wearing his Rathian gear from his early days as a hunter. It's a very compelling theory, and while nothing has been confirmed, it's hard to not think about it and come to the same conclusion. Dolometer's body is the Rotten Vale. The Rotten Vale is a locale introduced in Monster Hunter World where it is a mass grave of monsters coming here to die a peaceful, quote-unquote, death. All monsters, whether it be from the smallest of bugs to the topic of this entry, come here for their final moments of life. It's theorized that the Serpent King Dragon, Dolometer, is the foundation of the Rotten Vale, and as such, is the foundation of the New World itself, with the skulls of said elder being much larger than the alive one we fight in 4 and 4 Ultimate. But it's also been theorized that instead of one Dolometer, there are several corpses of the Serpent King Dragon here, all on top of each other. However, due to the sheer size of these specimens and how they could be entangled with one another underneath a literal valley of corpses of other monsters, we may never know the true answer. Variants versus subspecies. This entry is likely referring to how subspecies and variants differ from each other. Subspecies are a special mutation that happens during the birth of a monster due to living in a different environment, or pure random luck. For instance, a real-world example is the fur seal, which is most commonly found in black or brown. But every now and then, a white pup is born, with a 1 in 800 chance of being white. The same logic applies to subspecies, having this unique mutation from birth, and are just as rare. Variants, meanwhile, are normal monsters that have been forced to change due to a sudden change in their environment or their own body. For example, a savage Deviljho is created due to eating other Deviljho and a specialized dragon organ, causing the savage to become extremely unstable and forcing it to unleash a massive payload of dragon with nearly everything it does. Seething Beelzegis is another example, except for the environmental side, as due to the presence of more elder dragons and apexes appearing so suddenly during the events of Iceborne, the Beelzegis population has had to adapt to fight off all these threats, and as such became the Seething variant, where they get the power to overpower the apexes and even compete with elder dragons more than they were already able to before. Now, despite all this, the line can be blurred as some subspecies are caused to change from environmental shifts as well, although not to the same degree as variants. Bug monsters missing in Monster Hunter World. This entry baffles me to a degree. Bug monsters do exist due to Neopterans like Vespoid and Hornitaurs being located in the New World, but other larger bug monsters like Celtas, Celta's Queen, and the Temnoceran Nercella not appearing there are likely due to the skeletons not working too well in the New World environments. Mysterious fish. This entry is most likely talking about the Sea Lord's crestfish, a rare endemic life introduced in the Hoarfrost Reach, with it only appearing during a clear night. It is required to get the Submerged Mystery secret achievement and trophy. Black Diablos is in heat. As the entry implies, the Black Diablos is in heat and as such, has gained the Raven Black shell to warn of extreme hostility towards everything, including other Diablos. Popodrome. In beta footage from Monster Hunter Generations, it was found that Gammoth, in early production of the game, was quite literally a popodrome, appearing to be a massive popo that dwarfed the player, and even seemed to be larger than what we got with Gammoth. What a truly fascinating find. Beta Astalos. In the same vein as the popodrome, this entry refers to how Astalos was being created and how it was going to move. It's here we see that Rathian was used as a point of reference, as she had rough 3D models of Astalos' head, tail, and talons on her own body, and we saw her pull off a move that would be used by Astalos in the final game. Deviljho eats its own tail. Deviljho is an extremely powerful brute wyvern capable of rivaling elder dragons and even dwarfing them in size. This makes it a super predator by all definitions of the word, but in order to keep this mighty body going, its metabolism was overclocked, meaning that the Deviljho is always on the search for food, no matter what creature or object, even eating its own tail if there's nothing else for it to eat. Regions and locations in relation to each other. The regions and locales of Monster Hunter has always been a mystery of where they possibly are in relation to each other, and it is a bit of a headache, truth be told, on where everything is. If you want a video to go into far more detail than this, check out Gaijin Hunter's video on the topic. I'm sure it will satisfy those curious about this entry. Hermitar and Senator are urinating. This admittedly gross entry talks about how the daimyo and shogun use their urine as a form of ranged attack. However, despite the name of this entry, it's only confirmed that Shogun uses its urine, with the daimyo's being a standard bubble breath. Lagiacrus in the World. This entry refers to the now famous beta footage of Monster Hunter World, where it showed off the new world that they've created and how the monsters now interact with the player and each other, with the appearance of Lagiacrus, who kills the Anjanath that was pursuing the player. This proved that it was going to be part of World, but due to various issues such as the skeleton looking unnatural on the very terrain of the maps, they decided to cut Leviathans altogether and replace them with Paishin Wyverns. Yamasukami and Kirin are not true Elder Dragons. This entry refers to how Yamasukami and Kirin aren't actually Elder Dragons due to their radically different appearance from the others. Kirin seems to be more akin to a fanged beast or wyvern, but due to its powerful thunder capabilities and rareness, it's been classified as an Elder. Meanwhile, Yamasukami is by far the most unique monster in the series, a giant Lovecraftian monster that floats through the sky and is capable of eating entire forests to fuel its flight. It's due to how rare, powerful, and just overall not fitting in any other known category made it go into the Elder Dragon class of monsters. Medium Bowgun. Medium Bowgun was a Monster Hunter Tri exclusive weapon, where you're able to make your own custom bowgun with it landing either in the light, medium, or heavy classes. The medium bowgun, of course, is a mixture of both worlds, where it doesn't have the mobility of the light bowgun, nor does it hit nearly as hard as the heavy, but it has better evasion options than the heavy and hits much harder than the light. 15th weapon type. What every hunter dreams of as every new game comes out. The 15th weapon type is the holy grail of many hunters out there, wanting to have a new toy to play with and cut, smash, or shoot monsters with. But there is no such thing as of yet, leaving many fans eagerly awaiting. Although, if we were speaking technically, we do have 18 weapons in the entire series, but I'll get to those extra bunch in the next video. In-universe mythology. This entry refers to how the mythology of the Monster Hunter world was made, and how they differ akin to the real world. In Monster Hunter World, we're introduced to the most famous myth, the creation myth known as the Tale of the Five, where 5 dragons went to create the new world as we know it today. Other myths are scattered across the Monster Hunter world though, such as the beliefs of the people that built the ruined pinnacle, who revered and worshipped Valstrax, or the people who believed in the white god of the mountains, a wyvern so fast and powerful, it will bury entire mountainside settlements on a whim. Such an interesting topic indeed, ain't it? Origin of deviant monsters. I've gone over this before in the previous video and even talked about it earlier, so we'll just skip this entry. Skyboxes. This entry actually has me stumped. I mean, yeah, the skyboxes in Monster Hunter have always been either super pixely or super realistic in the later games, but I really don't have much to go off of here. I wasn't able to find them based off of real images or anything like that, like the Super Mario 64 Iceberg. Alright, moving on.